thing. Yeah, that looks like we're going. Perfect. So this is it's my first kind of group conversation, and this is all about the Kickstarter that's going out at the moment, which is done by the Merry Mushmen, and it's Liam and Joseph, who are two authors who I've covered already before on the channel, and they make epic stuff. So this is really just going to be a chat about the Kickstarter, the two adventures that are coming out, what's changed on them, and yeah, just to kind of shine a little bit of light on something that I think is awesome. So yeah, do you guys want to introduce yourself? I'll start with you, Joseph.
Hey everyone. Hey Damien, thanks so much for having us on. My name is Joseph R. Lewis. You can just call me Joe. And I've been publishing Dungeon Age adventures for too many years now, probably. I don't remember.
Not too many.
I was privileged enough to be approached by the Mushmen a couple years ago to do an adventure, and then again last year to do this new remastered edition of the Obsidian Keep, which we're calling Raiding the Obsidian Keep, where we expanded with so much more exciting content and some beautiful artwork. And I'm really glad to be here to talk about it. Thanks.
Liam?
I'm Liam Podrigo Quilinon. I'm an adventure designer, though a substantially less productive one than Joseph. So I'm the author of Hounds of Hendenburgh, which came out last year for the Kane system. I'm also the author of the much reworked and expanded Old School Essentials version, the Horrendous Hounds of Hendenburgh, which is being released through the Merry Mushmen with beautiful top-grade art by the very talented Bruno Prosecco.
And I'm Eric Nieudan. I have written nothing, though I have written adventures a long time ago, but I'm the editor for the Merry Mushmen. So I was the one holding the scalpel and the glue stick and asking for more bits. We need to cover the bloody bits here. And that worked great.
Perfect. Cool. So like this is the two adventures that we're talking about that's being kickstarted is the Hounds of Hendenburgh, or it's now the Horrendous Hounds of Hendenburgh, which I covered a little while ago and people loved. And it's the Obsidian Keep, which I was about to cover, but now I don't have to because I'm going to get to cover this new expanded one. So yeah, so probably well, first of all, let me do something very quickly. I'm going to share a screen at the moment so people can get a quick idea of the differences in expansion, because I think a lot of people would have seen both those adventures already, because I want to give people like an idea of why I think that the Kickstarter is awesome and worth backing. So this would probably go horrendously wrong, but hey, let's give it a go. Yeah. Let's see if I go to this. Dismiss. Okay, so I did this obviously really high tech and wonderfully to show a quick idea of what the difference in size of the modules are. So this was the Cryptwood in the House of Hendenburgh. This is the new expanded and awesome looking one. This was the Tyrant's Tomb. Here are a bunch of other dungeons that have been thrown in instead, or in place of. Here is from the Obsidian Keep, the original maps. This does not give anywhere near enough credit to how awesome they look. These are the new ones, and this was the Obsidian Keep, and this is kind of like the new absolutely mahoosive Obsidian Keep. So these aren't they're definitely the adventures that are based off the same they have the same starting point, but there's a hell of a lot more adventure in there. And let me stop sharing. So like how did it go about then? So how did people get in contact with you guys initially? So you were saying, Joseph, that you originally did a Kickstarter last year?
Yes, the Mushmen had come to me about doing their first adventure, and they came to me to talk about Ragged Hollow. So we did that last year, and then they apparently wanted to do more because they hadn't I hadn't annoyed them enough. So we decided to do the Obsidian Keep, which had already been pretty popular and successful. And they asked me how we could make it better for a remastered version, in addition to the beautiful art by Leon and the new maps. And the obvious answer was to build out the dungeon, the actual castle at the end. Most of the adventure is about getting to the castle in the original version. So we just built out a fully featured, fully room by room classic dungeon style crawl of a 4-level, 50-something room dungeon, Castle Keep.
Yeah, it looks massive, and it looks super cool because
rooms.
a huge amount was about getting there, and now there's something really big to do when you do get there. So,
Yeah.
What about you,
Plenty of
Liam?
reasons. Plenty of
Oh,
reasons.
sorry, yeah.
Plenty of reasons to turn back when you're there.
To turn back and try again, and that's one of the
No, and just go home.
Just to run away.
It's a horrible
Just to give
place.
up. No, it's not a good place. It's not good real
one of the
estate.
things I really like about both of them as well is if somebody turns back and they come back again, they're not going to get the same adventure. They're not going to get the same path. Things are going to be different. It's so different to kind of like a lot of the linear adventures that are out there. There's here and then there's there, but how you get there, it probably is never going to be the same twice.
No, absolutely. I like evolving landscapes and changing challenges, and that if you pull this lever, everything changes over here. So it makes the landscape more interesting for the players and for the DM, just to keep having new challenges.
100%.
We always have. Now I'm not entirely sure it was in both of these original versions, but there's always a what happens after the adventure.
That was a great addition.
I really like that. I do.
Because,
Like,
yeah, if you run away, great, good for you, but just make sure you don't come back in the same region a year later, because it's not going to be good.
Well, it's from my position as a DM. When I'm running a game, I actually love feeling like a player. So I don't like knowing there's a beginning, middle, and end. I like, here's a situation, what's going to happen, and I think the layouts of your previous ventures, how you do it, but also I really do adore the layout of the old school essentials adventure, because they make it very, very easy again to find out what's what and kind of ad lib off the back of it. But I think that's what really stuck out about your adventures originally that I've read, was that it was, situations, locations, motivations, and off you go. And then you drop your players in and see what mess they make, and then you get to enjoy the game as a GM as well as players. And these two seem to have really, really built on that. So which is super cool. So Liam, then what about the Hounds of Hendenburgh? Then what has been the major changes that you've made to the horrendous Hounds of Hendenburgh?
It's been expanded significantly. So in the original adventure, there is a hex crawl, but primarily there's a few things you can do outside the village. There's the village itself, and then there's the centerpiece dungeon with the hex crawl kind of linking them with some other stuff the party can get involved in and mess around with. With this one, it's much more of a large sandbox hex crawl. So there's a lot more going on in the Cryptwood, more factions, 2 new dungeons, a lot more sort of things that parties can encounter. So this one's much more of a large, I need to double check, but I think it's 46 hexes, about half of which are populated. So something along the lines of maybe a mini Dolmenwood on a much smaller scale, with a kind of more focused sort of situation, and just a lot more openness and bigger in scale,
Well, I'm going to do a quick kind of like run through them. We won't go into massive. I've got a really squeaky chair, and I have not figured out how to kill the squeak on it yet. It's not good. So I'm going to have a quick run through so people can get an idea of what they look like. These are the proof copies that you sent through, and I think they look absolutely freaking awesome. Sorry, there's another person in Merry Mushmen as well that I think needs to get credit as well, and they're not on here. Is it Olivia?
Yeah, Olivier Revenu. Yeah, he should be credited for about 90% of the work that hasn't been done by the authors and the illustrators. I feel like my job is easy working on the content and editing. When
like
he's coming up with, he's the one who just has the initial idea. Most of the time he finds the adventure, and we talk about it and we decide which ones to start with, and then he suggests who we should hire to do the art, and it's always like a perfect pairing. Like it's not like we've done that 90 times with looked at that 4 or 5 times so far. It's always absolutely perfect. He comes up with the layout. All these adventures are duotone as well, and there's no going back and forth with his ideas. Just like the first concept he sends is just spot on.
What was the idea with the dual tone and the covers? Like they feel so old school and they're gorgeous. They're this kind of style of cover. It just reminds me of old school modules, but it's got this wonderful modern take. So what's the probably tell people about the benefit of having these kind of covers, because they seem to be almost everything you need as a GM to run at the same time as having, so you're not so the zero flipping, because on the inside of the covers there are the maps and such like that as well. So what was the idea behind kind of like having those?
It's sorry.
Yeah.
It's 3 measures of nostalgia and 1 measure of efficiency and usability. We started playing with these. I started with B2 and then went on to B4. And which one is the one with the Thieves Guild? I don't remember. I don't remember all the numbers, but I remember having we didn't even have GM screens for basic GM. I don't think it existed, so I just put this in front of me, and then I had the dungeon. So we decided to do the same, but a bit bigger, because now we have probably better resources as printers. Plus, the adventures are a small format as well, so we need to be able to put all the maps, and then there's always a little added content. Different ideas we have, or some of the encounter tables sometimes can fit in there. It's just, as I said, Olivier said that he was when he was a kid, he would write his adventures on little sheets of paper and then fold them, and then make a map that he would use as a cover.
It's super cool. It is super cool, and it's like the quality and the thought behind it is stuff that's just not often, but it's not really out there a huge amount. So so it like super appreciated. So Hounds of Hendenburgh, then we're jumping all over the place here, but like that is just the way it is. So what are your favorite new parts in it?
I'm not sure if you'd call it new part, but I mean, just looking at it there, Bruno's art just absolutely makes it. It conveys the tone and so on so well. I know personally I'm very fond of the Infested Silver Mine, which is a new kind of sidetrack dungeon that's been included in there. Tonally a little bit different, a bit more Patrick Stewart than Haunted Woods, but I enjoyed creating that a lot.
It's cool. Like there's so many not even Easter eggs just about the bounty hunter. Like every page is kind of got a giggle on it. One of the things I really like is that there's also a lot of kind of the idea of something to come. So like with the silver mine, you were saying that there's this idea of, if you do get control of it, there is this potential third-party faction that might end up coming in, and there's so much of that kind of stuff sewed throughout that it's like there's a sprinkle of here's what you could maybe do with it if someone wants to pull on that string. There's more stuff you can do in the future.
Yeah, I always designed it with the idea that someone would just slap it down on their own hex crawl somewhere and just sort of fit it in like that with stuff that's what they've maybe made themselves or from other adventures, impacting what's going on in the Cryptwood and stuff that happens in the Cryptwood potentially spilling out into the broader world. So yeah, I always have that in mind, the idea that someone's going to plop it down on their own hex crawl,
100%. Like with both of these, I'm planning, because I want to run a campaign using the Black Marsh setting. I'm already picturing there's different islands that I'm going to be starting to just drop all of these adventures I've been covering in, and these two are 100% going in there straight off the bat, which is super cool because that's my work easier. So yeah, they're absolutely gorgeous as people can see when you're looking through it. Obsidian Keep. What's your favorite new bits in it then, Joe?
Oh gosh. Well, I love the opportunity to do a room by room giant castle again, because I haven't done that in a very long time. And it's just full of all sorts of horrific, awful things that no one should ever want to encounter. But I also loved a lot of the touches that Eric and Olivier had suggested. There's a lot of refugees scattered around the landscape, and we created an encampment for those refugees to gather at, where you can find hirelings if you need to replace anyone who has sadly been lost from your adventuring party. We also wrote up a somewhat detailed timeline, or some branching ideas of what happens after the adventure, if you're successful in solving the mystery and beating the big bad, or if you are unsuccessful and evil is allowed to linger, which were great touches. But some of the creatures and NPCs I think that I sprinkled into the castle were particular favorites of mine too.
Who would be your favorite?
Oh, there's a vampire. I put a vampire in everything. There is a vampire in the dungeon, but she's different and unique and unfortunate and interesting.
100%. I don't want to spoil it, so we won't. But back it, and you get to find out.
Your average vampire.
Yeah, never. Okay, so what was it for both of you? What was it like different working with kind of a because you're independent, but working with the Merry Mushmen, what felt different to you, or how was the process different?
I suppose it's the main difference, I suppose, is that you're not kind of cloistered. You're working with an editor, and for the most part, that's actually been quite a positive experience for me. So, like, when I was writing sort of academic stuff, I hated when someone was editing me and they'd kind of come back with suggestions. This was the opposite of that. I was always very excited looking, okay, this is good, but hey, could we do this here? Or could we do this here? Or hey, we should have the stat block facing the page here, kind of keeping in mind this is like to meet the same kind of high standards that Merry Mushmen is known for. But yeah, it was mostly just stuff in there that was as a result of Eric and Olivier's suggestions that wouldn't have made it in otherwise. And, I think pretty much all those cases get added to the adventure and enriched it. So it's really nice to have other eyes on what you're working on, and also these ideas that you wouldn't necessarily generate on your own. It really enriches what you're writing,
What about you, Joe?
Yes, no, absolutely. After working so long, well, still working as a one-stop shop, doing all my own art and layout, it is wonderful to have a team who can bring their own creativity to the table and also take some of the work off the table to make a really beautiful product. And I also love being prodded by Eric and Olivier with new ideas and just constantly being asked, can you do one more D20 encounter table? Do one more D20. There's a day and there's a night and there's a road over here. We need one more D20 encounter table. But it really pushes me to keep thinking and be creative and be different, which I love. I love that pressure to do. The only time I think I pushed back was somewhere in the castle. I put a couple of closets and they said, oh, put something interesting in the closet. I'm like, guys, there's a monster in every room in this castle. I think the closet can be a safe space.
There was
just being prompted and prodded is wonderful.
You know the way we work. You've seen Knock.
I know. It's
we want every square inch to have something interesting. But yeah, maybe in a horrible castle, you need some boring rooms you can hide.
I'll give you an example which I think is kind of interesting, because they're both very, very different, with one being a hex crawl and one Obsidian Keep being a point crawl essentially. Then you have something like this, which feels to me it's not a dungeon yet because you haven't went downstairs, but it's like it's almost like if a dungeon and a point crawl had a child and it was going to mess with you. This is what it would look like, which is you go in there.
I like that.
And like you go in there and you've got all of these points which you can explore, but you've also got one of those D20 tables you were talking about of just random stuff that can happen. So it doesn't matter how many times people go in there. For me as a GM, I've got like that. There's more flavor coming out every time, and you never know what thread your player is going to pull on. You never know which is the part they're going to get hooked into. And having so much stuff there that you can create this live, exciting environment without having to do any heavy lifting, which I'm really big fan of being proactively lazy. And that's when you buy modules, you want them to do that heavy lifting for you. And this does it so well, which is super cool.
Gosh, thank you. Yeah, no, as a GM, I'm always trying to make my job easier at the table. And then when I'm writing, I'm always trying to make the other GM's job easier, because I know what it's like trying to digest all this stuff that you didn't write, and then trying to convey it to your players, and then trying to make sense of the situation. And I know what kind of work that's like. And we're playing a game. We should be having fun. It shouldn't feel like work. So as much work as I can do beforehand, hopefully makes everyone have more fun afterwards.
The thing I found reading through both of them is there's a couple of different experiences. There's the reading the module, which I've just enjoyed as is. If I never ran them, I would. But there's also, I'm reading them going, oh, I'd run the crap out of that. Oh, I'd run the crap out of that. Or like, and in so many situations, like, I don't know what the hell they would do. I don't know what the hell the players would do. And that, for me, it's because I originally came from 5e, oddly enough, and I came to the dark side or the bright side, and it was just, I loved the idea of not knowing. You know, here's a problem. We don't even have a solution. Off you go. There's 4 of you and there's 1 of me. You're going to be smarter than me. Go figure it out. And I love that with this.
That was one of the first lessons I think I learned, either GMing or writing, is that, yeah, I can't outsmart my players. There's too many of them, and they have too many spells and powers and objects and items. And no matter how clever I think I'm going to be, no, they'll instantly come up with some bizarre abstract solution to any problem. So I don't bother worrying about that in design. I just try to put things that are interesting in front of them and then let them play. And that's fun for me.
That's cool. Right. So what else have we got? Getting started. What got you guys started in writing adventures? What kind of, you were saying, Liam, I'm not sure whether it was beforehand or afterwards, that it was like a jam that you started for or that you joined for the original version?
Yeah, so Yokai Gal, who's the creator of the Cairn system, basically ran a dungeon jam and adventure jam for that. So I decided, well, do you know what, rather than having multiple projects on the go that I seemingly never finish, I'm just going to participate and just force myself to make something within the, I think it was maybe 2 month time limit. The result was basically the Hounds of Hendenburgh. I have written stuff for 5e back when I played it, but I'm probably similar to yourself, Damien. After running that for 4 or 5 years, if you held a gun to my head, you couldn't get me to play or run 5e. I'm sorry, I know it's partisan, but it's not that I just don't enjoy it. I actively dislike it. So in fact, and a lot of like the way I design adventures, to be frank, is to do the opposite of what Wizards do, which is really good like design advice. Just pick up a Wizards of the Coast book and just do the opposite of that, and just expanding the linear railroad stories, and just designing, which Joseph does as well, and I think the best OSR writers in general do, designing the adventures as a powder keg to be lit by the players, having them taught and fraught with the possibility that pulling on one particular thread or taking one particular action can utterly change both the experience of that adventure and the results of it. And it is possible to write and design like that, at least on a modular level.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And it is that idea of what you can get done. Like these are, I'm seeing 37 pages, but they're double-sided, so it's more than that. There is more adventure in here than you would get in a 200-page adventure by certain coastal dwelling magic users that where people are getting paid by the word, next to nothing. Whereas this isn't anything like that. Both of these adventures are all the complete opposite, which is, you know, it's about how I can take for me, it seems how I can take what's in my head and give people enough that they can make it into whatever's in their head, not what's in my head, which is kind of super cool. So yeah, like it's been a joy reading. Eric, here's a question for you. Why start a publishing company? Surely you're crazy.
Yeah, we probably are. We are lucky. Well, we were lucky at every step of the way, to be honest. But Olivier was already set up doing. So he was doing, like I was, freelance work. I was doing freelance writing. I was doing freelance layout. And he'd been finding success pre pre-selling a wargaming magazine called Battles. It's like a Chit and Hex magazine. I had no idea these things were still a thing, but he got in touch with me. Like, we'd lost contact. We'd worked together in maybe 2002 for the last time. So 15, 17 years later, he got in touch with me and said, "Hey, I have a little imprint. I've been doing this. It's been working. I've just got back into role-playing games for the first time in 12 years, and I found the OSR, and I love it. You seem to know a few people and have been writing a few things. Would you be the editor of the magazine?" And then I suggested Kickstarter. We started working 2 years. We got in touch with a lot of people, with a lot of pull in the OSR, and we kind of put the blogs into paper, and that caught on. So once we realized that we had a following and people who were silly enough or rich enough to give us some of their money for our silly ideas, we just kept going with the stuff that we liked seeing, and hoping that other people like it too.
I think that's actually a really good point. The idea of giving money is, I'd much rather give money to individuals that are creating cool stuff because they love it, rather than give it to people that are just doing. We had a discussion briefly earlier on, just for shareholders, and it's, and I think that's the thing, is if you're part of this community, and there's so much great stuff that's given away for free and given away for super cheap, every now and then supporting people for me is almost like it's like you're paying to keep ownership of your own hobby, by rewarding the people that are releasing great stuff, and the idea of, for me, having one of those cool things with the nice cover and on my shelf, and being able to take it off and look at it every now and then, as well as run the crap out of it. It's a lovely balance that's been hit with both these modules. I haven't seen your first one yet, Joe, so that will be on the on the ever-growing list of things
that will be in your mail.
Beautiful book.
Don't worry.
It is a great product, thanks to the Mushmen, not to me.
Yeah.
There was really good material.
Why the Merry Mushmen?
I think we had about 36 hours before the Kickstarter for Nook One was ready to launch, and we were like, "Shit, what are we called?" We weren't going to use the same imprint as the publisher of Battles, so we had a quick brainstorm, and I think I'm not even sure the brainstorm. Olivier just said that, and I was like, "Yeah, Merryman, Mushman, that works." Let's see. Anyway, it wasn't going to be a big thing. It was supposed to be something that we did maybe once a year and sell 500 of it and of each copy, and that have been amazing. So it wasn't. That's just what happens when your back is against the wall. I guess you just
yeah. Well, that's been kind of like the key to this, to the chat, and to all of you. It's like you all seem to get more out when you put your backs against the wall. Maybe that's good advice for anybody who's looking to publish, is give yourself, in fact, that's probably a better thing to ask each of you. What advice would you give to somebody who's looking to start publishing their own adventures?
Oh gosh, it would depend a lot on where they already are right now. If they're already playing and writing material for their own game, versus if they haven't done anything yet, versus if they've created something but don't know the process for pushing it out. There's so many stages to this. The advice would vary, and I'm sure a lot of people have already published. I think I've seen a lot of good blog posts on the process. But in the shortest answer is you can put anything in a PDF and upload it to any one of these sites like DriveThru, itch.io, or your own website, and start putting out your content. There's nothing stopping you. I would encourage you just to look at anything that you like to read, any product that you like to look at, and try to emulate it. And then you could put your own spin on it, layout-wise or design-wise or art-wise. When you have the ability or the funds or whatever it is, I highly encourage you to hire artists, because I love to support artists, and also because they're good at creating great art, which can help you to promote your work or just to bring your work to life with great artwork. So that would be my short answer.
So my short answer would be read the best of the OSR, or if you're doing something else, if you're doing story games, read the best of story games, and pay close attention not just to the content but the layout. Look at what kind of layout people are using, how they're arranging information, how they're making it accessible, or if it's the case inaccessible or difficult to use, and learn the nuts and bolts of it by looking at the best designed and best written adventures in whatever genre or whatever game system you're using. So for OSR, read Joseph, read the Mushmen, read Gavin Norman, read Gus L., Emmy Allen, Brad Kerr, these sorts of people who have both the writing and the layout down very tightly. Look what they're doing and try and emulate those principles in your own work.
That reminds me, I need to do a review of some of Emmy Allen stuff, because I adore them. So
I would have two pieces of advice. One, start with something small, because if you don't finish it, then you can start something else. If you finish it and put it out and no one reads it, then it's not that bad. You can do something different. And the second one would be get feedback, because we talked about the publishing, the editing loop there, and you want to have something equivalent of that. So talk to someone, go on the board, offer feedback as well, because it's a two-way street. And then you will get better, or you will see the little flaws that you might have, and you will also have like a little network of people who will also help you, not publicize, but you know what I mean, just boost the signal, because there's nothing worse than stuff that no one sees, and you feel like you have to be everywhere and keep posting links, and then you're annoying to everyone. So make friends.
It's happening slowly.
Yeah.
Here's. I don't think there's any needed to go on in huge detail here, because I do plan on doing reviews of each of these in detail, because they're epic. So, well, first of all, the Kickstarter. Let's talk about that ever so briefly. Yeah, the Kickstarter it's doing amazingly well. Which is super cool. And it just went up again. How do you not just sit there and watch it go up? That would be my 2 weeks just watching it. But like,
I did on the first day. The first day, definitely.
First tree for me.
So,
and then the last.
And the last. I will put a link to this Kickstarter below so people can back it. So the Kickstarter, what do you get essentially? You've got the options of getting either one in PDF, either one in print and PDF, or them all, or even your other adventure as well.
Yeah, and you can also get two of each. Our shipping, it's 2024, and shipping has gone to shit. And it's very expensive to send stuff across to other continents. We are lucky that we're shipping from France, and France has subsidized rates that we can use, because it's a book, and as a book, it's a cultural product. So we want to support culture. So we it's not going to cost you too much to buy more copies, but some people might want to join up.
And as people can see,
two copies.
it's pretty much done already as well. So most of the work has been done on it. It's not like a Kickstarter that's going to be 2 years in the waiting. It's
we always do that, and we never have any significant stretch goals. One, because we're lazy, and like, we've maybe a decade of game Kickstarters to learn from, and we've seen the mistakes that others have made. So we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Plus, the less work we put in, or the less time we spend working on extra stuff for these, the faster we can get the work to then onto the next one. So.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like doing loads and loads of stretch goals doesn't make that much sense. I want to get what you're doing, and I want to get it as soon as I can. That's generally when I'm seeing the Kickstarter. I have issues putting stuff off for the future. I want instant gratification, so send it to me soon. So yeah.
What if you get it 1 year down the line? You don't into OSR anymore. It might happen. So that would be. You would feel like a waste of money when you get a big box of things you are not sure you want to run anymore. Like that happened to me. That happened to me before.
So guys, right, quick round the table then. What are your plans for next? What's the next things you're working on?
Liam?
So yeah, for me, the two things that are currently in the works are a grimy, gritty, sleazy, Claudius-inspired swords and sandals funnel for old school essentials. That's tentatively titled Zeus by Jove. I also have a low-level Shadow Dark adventure in the works, which is a Persian science fantasy western sort of setting called Underground Emiris Seraglio. I hope to have at least one of them out by the end of the year, so keep your eyes peeled.
Oh, cool. Give me a shout when you do, and we'll get some eyes on it. Well, if there's anybody watching. So, what about you, Joe?
I'm currently writing a new game where I've taken the Cairn rule set, or the Into the Odd rule set, and welded it together with Emmy Allen's depth crawl system. And it's called The Undying Sea, where I've taken Jason and the Argonauts and Pirates of the Caribbean and put those together. So you sail away from your home island, and you discover new islands, and they become stranger and more dangerous the farther away from home you get. There's a lot of undead in the Undying Sea and a lot of leviathans. And you get to explore this space, and it's been a lot of fun to play test, and I'm working with some very cool artists to try to fill out the book. So hopefully we have a really nice book to look at by the end of the summer.
That sounds awesome. So like the depth crawl, but it's
horizontal. It's a horizontal depth crawl. The farther into the fog you go, that's the depth.
Yeah, that's cool. What about you, Eric? What's next on the horizon for you guys?
I might be writing an adventure that I really need to put together because that's something we'd like to.
Who's going to prod you?
Sorry, what's that?
Who's going to prod you?
Me, myself. Olivier does that quite well, but every time they ask me, "Hey, where is this? How's this going along?" And I said, "Yeah, it's kind of in the background now because I have another idea about this and that." So hopefully I'll get this done this time, because it's a bit of an event thing. I don't want to say anymore just in case it doesn't work.
No, I get that 100%.
And then there's a ton of Merry Mushmen stuff that's down the line.
Cool.
Yeah, I won't give you 3 pitches right now. We can do that at some later date.
Yeah, I would love to get you on to have a chat about Kickstarters and stuff like that, because I think that would be super interesting for people to do a separate one.
Happy to do that.
To do Kickstarters and stuff. Right, for the 3 of you, where's the best place to find you, or do you want to be found? I generally don't, but
if anyone does want to find me, they can at josephrlewis.com. That points to everything I've done.
Yeah, so website under construction, but for the moment, if people want to reach out and find me, probably easiest would be itch.io, where I'm under Budapest Kick, and on the remains of Twitter, where I'm also at Budapest Kick. So if you go to either of those sources, follow, I'll be posting news and if and when they get done, any new adventures there.
And what about you, Eric?
The Merry Mushmen is probably the best way to find me. themerrymushmen.com. There should be a link somewhere to
I'll stick links below somewhere.
our remaining socials and our Discord as well, where we have fun conversations about our games, but also everything else we like.
Perfect. Cool. Well, guys, nobody's got anything else to add. Just thank you very much for coming on. It's been like a lot of fun chatting to you about this and kind of what you do in the future as well. So
this was great. Thank you so much for having us.
Great crack.
Yeah. And thanks for watching, people over there.
Yes, thank you all.
So there will be links below where you can back the Kickstarter and find these people. And yeah, let me know if there's anything from them particularly you want me to cover in future. So thank you, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.